or through these new moon ceremonies that we do. We also bring, we think about our feet, and sometimes I've done circles where we've brought different shoes. You know, my elder Gwen Bear one time in a healing ceremony in our grandmother circle, she asked women to bring their favorite shoes. And it was interesting. Some brought flip-flops, some brought moccasins, some brought high heels, some brought, you know. But what we were able to do in that circle was to talk about our earth walk and why were these particular shoes important to you. And somebody would say, well, these are the ones I wore to my graduation. These are the ones that my mother bought me. These were the ones that I really wanted and waited so long to get. These moccasins were made for. So earth walk is very symbolic. And so how we walk on our earth walk. So sometimes shoes or moccasins are a way. For me, having the name Imelda, I always get teased for Imelda Marcos, the Philippine woman who had, I forget how many pairs of shoes. And I says, well, at least I got the right English name because I'm a woman of many moccasins, because I wear different moccasins for different ceremonies. I have specific ones that I do when I do a sweat lodge. I have certain ones I do when I do ceremony for babies. I have different ones I wear for when I work with elders. So it's important. And then there's deer skin, there's moose hide. So there's different moccasins that we wear for different ceremonies. Not meaning that that's why women like shoes. It's because women have that many roles. And so we have shoes for different roles. So it was interesting to be in that circle. So we talk about our earth walk. What did we do last month? Did we travel? Who did we visit? Who did we meet? Who did we leave behind? So so that new moon ceremony is very good, and it needs to be done every month, you know. And it just kind of keeps us balanced. It keeps us, I can start this new moon in a different way. It's like a rebirth. And so that's one of the ceremonies that we do. Water is passed around so we can talk about different emotions that people have had in that month before, so that we can let go of it. And so as the water is poured, so everybody pours into a bowl, and everybody will say, here's my emotions I'm letting go of. Last month I lost a relative, you know, and for me personally, last month in May, I lost about 4 relatives, and so my heart has been very heavy from helping the families deal with their loss. And so, so I need this new moon to heal that hurt from my heart. And so if we just go through life without these ceremonies, that's why we're lost. That's why we're going to more psychiatry and more psychologists and more mental health services, or not bothering at all and just covering it up and just going back inside that cocoon, you know, and not emerging like the butterfly that you're supposed to be. So that's why these moons are important. For that first one, the long moon, it's a winter solstice. And what we do is, similar to that new moon ceremony I just talked about, I have what I call a wolf ceremony. And in that moon, I invite people, and that's just before, it's usually the week of Christmas, what they call Christmas, because the other name for the moon is Nibai Imiam Gawi Gisus, meaning the Christmas moon. And after Christianity came into our traditions, then there was Midnight Mass, and there still is Midnight Mass. And it's to honor the birth of a new Savior coming into the world to help people's spirits. And so it kind of coincided with what we believe in, you know, that every child is like an ancestor, and the ancestor has come to bring us teachings from the past. And so for us, the ceremony isn't necessarily the birth of one child, because we have that celebration for the birth of every child. But at that particular time in Christianity, there's one child that's specific to that celebration. For us, it's the long moon. It's the one that we do ceremony. So this wolf ceremony is a forgiveness ceremony. It's because the new year hasn't arrived yet, but before the new year comes, you have to acknowledge the year you're leaving behind, the one that gave you experience, the one that gave you either hope or hopelessness. But you have to acknowledge both, whether it's hope that the last year gave you, but the most important thing is in this new year, you have to make sure that you go to your neighbors and you let your neighbors know, and this is what we say, and help them win. You'll go to your neighbor and you'll say, and help them win gizi wabli. Forgive me if I used words that hurt your feelings this past year. Or actions that I did that upset you and we haven't resolved yet. So that the new year that's coming, that we're gifted with, so that we can walk together and show what forgiveness looks like, so that our children will say, they were mad at each other last month, but now they're walking together, they're friends again. So it's a gift of forgiveness, and it shows itself in real friendship, not just the I'm sorry, and not really mean it and turn it around. So it's a really important thing to start the new year with, and really think back to the year that you've already been gifted with. The other reason that's important for that wolf ceremony is we usually have a fire outside. I have moose meat, raw. I keep it wrapped up, and then everybody will hold the moose meat, and everybody will say, "Wolf, would you please eat my resentments?" Another one may say, "Wolf, would you please eat my addictions?" "Wolf, I'm placing my sadness in this meat so that you will eat my sadness, my worries, my whatever it is, whatever so heavy that your heart is heavy." And that's what we do. So everybody will go around, and then at midnight, or around midnight, a group of us women will take we'll ask permission to enter the woods, and then what we'll do is we sing a song of healing, and then we open up and leave the meat behind for the wolf to eat. And then we go back, and then we do a gratitude song for thanking the wolf for eating all of those things for the people who put requests in the meat. So we do that annually, and sometimes I've had to do it more often when families are going through a tough time and they can't seem to forgive each other. So we'll do that forgiveness ceremony. But that's what we do in the long moon. And what we do as well is when a tree, for Christmas is cut, it's something that I learned from my Hopi elders. You don't cut the tree unless the family agrees that's the one. And so when it's cut, you promise that tree. My family has chosen you to bring happiness and joy to our home. We promise as a family that we're going to honor your peace here in the woods, and our home will be just as peaceful. So it's a good lesson for children, because then you could say, we can't argue, we promised the tree that we're going to be peaceful, just like how peaceful it was for the tree in the woods. And so we have to promise. So there's a little pouch of tobacco we always put on our trees. And even if it's a fake tree nowadays, and stuff, but it's that idea of acknowledging the standing ones, the trees, for why we've cut them down to bring them into our homes. So we have to have a good relationship. So we don't bring it in as the Christmas tree. We bring it in as a relative, that's going to, that long lost uncle we haven't seen in ages has come home. And that's how we treat the tree, and stuff. And so it's really important. So it's been fun teaching children about that. So every time they start to get mad at each other, and I'll say, shh, don't forget, we promised the tree we're not going to argue. Then oh yeah, I'm sorry, tree, So when children learn how to have that code of ethic to respect the stand-in ones too, then I think that's what we call real peace, when children can acknowledge that as well. So that's what we do in that first moon. Okay. The next moon is the moon of the whirling wind and stuff, which is where my spirit name comes from. And of course, you'll see the picture of the moon, and you'll see that wind that's stirring around on the snow, and that's what it looks like. So sometimes everything is frozen, but there'll be this little bitty whirlwind going across the snowbanks, and so I get to see my name. And so, so you begin your journey and stuff. You begin your journey, and for us, this would be our second moon, and because you've already celebrated the first moon or the long moon, which is in December. Solstice is the beginning, not January 1st, according to us. And so, and of course, because the ground is frozen in our territory here, then it's difficult for animals to get to their food, and that's why they call it the hard to get food, and stuff. Now, and the Passamaquoddies also have called this the whirling wind moon, and of course the Mi'kmaq call it the frostfish moon, or tomcod moon, and stuff. Okay. So just a little note on birthdays, because that's when I celebrate mine. But rather than look forward to the year or the days that haven't been gifted me, I have to acknowledge, and what have I done? What did I do in my 66th year before I turned 67? And so, so I do, it's almost as if I reflect. It's supposed to be a time to reflect. How did you honor the year that you were gifted with? What did you get to accomplish? It's almost like fill in a bucket list. What didn't you get to do yet? And so we look back on what we've accomplished, not what we're going to do, because that time isn't gifted to us yet. And so birthdays are different. And I'll specifically talk about my elder's birthday, that at his 80th birthday, the late Elder Charles Solomon, that we